The new number 11 Kolsch is available at Walter's Sports Bar starting today. This new beer is a collaboration between employee number 11 and Lost Barrel Brewing.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
First pitch, driven it deep right center field, way back, and it is gone. Goodbye. A 3-run shot after the walk and hit batter, and a 4-run first inning for the Giants. They lead it 4-0.
1-0 from Birdsong. Swing a high drive, deep right field. Encarnacion back to the warning track, looking up, and there it goes. A home run over the big wall and straightaway right for Keibert Ruiz. And the Nationals tack on another and lead 6-4.
Swing by Wood and a drive in the air to deep left center field. Ramos going back. He's looking. It's going, and it is gone. Goodbye. A bomb into the brewhouse. Red seats up in the table area. Bang! Zoom goes James Wood with his 3rd home run of the big leagues. He scores his 4th run of the night. And the Nationals now lead by the score of 11-5. What a blast by James Wood.
And welcome to Nats Chat for Wednesday, August 7th, 2024, along with MASNsports.com Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman, who is at Nationals Park. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. So I began our last show by noting that the Nats in this regular season had scored 1 run or less in 24 of the team's 113 games. Well, the Nats in this regular season now have scored 7 runs or more in 27 of the team's 114 games. The Nats offense overall is not good. We've talked about that, but the Nats offense can be great, and it, on Tuesday evening, was great. An 11-5 win over the San Francisco Giants at Nationals Park in Game 2 of a 4-game series. The Nats improved to 52-62. The Nats in this game, 11 runs, 15 hits, which were 3 home runs, a triple, 4 doubles, 7 singles, 6 walks, 7 for 18 with runners in scoring position. The Nats in this game overcame a 4-0 second inning deficit. And the beauty of this game, it wasn't just what the Nats did, it was who did what the Nats did. Mark, every team in the majors has some offensive variance, but man, it feels like this season's Nats team is on the high end of the offensive variance scale. When this team is good offensively, it actually is quite good offensively.
It is, and when they're bad, they're really bad, and there's just not a lot of in between. It doesn't feel like. How often do they score 4 or 5 runs? It feels like hardly ever. It's 0 or 1, or as you said, 7 or more. And I think in addition to mentioning the other day about how many times they've been held to so little, I think you also made a point to say they are last in the league in home runs. Did you not? And what they do, they hit 3 home runs in this game. And as you pointed out, the guys who hit them were probably the 3 most important Nats you'd like to see hit home runs. So if you could draw up an offensive performance for one night, this is pretty close to what you would have as a dream scenario for this team because of who did it, how they kept it going all night, and just the way it looked when they were up there at the plate. And it made for a very good night. And allowed them to flip the narrative away from MacKenzie Gore had another bad start to, hey, look how good the Nats lineup was, and didn't matter how Gore did.
Yeah, and we will get to MacKenzie Gore. But boy, the Nats have made a habit of getting down big early, but then making games competitive, if not winning those games. You brought that up to Davey Martinez during his post-game press conference with you guys on Tuesday night. But I mean, here we had the Nats in this game down 4-0 after one inning, and they end up winning the game in a rout. This is such a weird deal with this Nats team, how they've been doing this, especially lately, getting down big early, but again, making the game competitive, if not outright winning the game.
And I guess once you've been there, you have some confidence. It's not like that daunting of a task. And maybe against certain pitchers, it would be. Against young Hayden Birdsong, didn't feel as daunting, and they came right back in the second inning and took the lead back that quickly. And that probably helped Gore out as well, just getting that immediate run support. And as you said, we'll get to what he did. But as I've mentioned, it does feel like they either see a starting pitcher really well and do this to them, or they can't figure them out and they struggle all night against the guy. And it's not the best quality you have, but I guess it's nice to know that on certain nights when they're seeing the ball come out of a pitcher's hand well, that they can not just score a few runs, but really score them in bunches and have this sustained attack that they had in this one. It's not like they scored the 5 in the second and said, okay, we're good. No, they kept going all night long, and that was really nice to see.
Yeah. Hayden Birdsong sang a sad song in this game. 7 runs in 2 innings. Nats scored 5 runs, bottom of the second, 2 runs, bottom of the third, a run, bottom of the fourth, run, bottom of the sixth, and 2 runs in the bottom of the eighth. A lot of offensive standouts for the Nats in this game, but we begin with the man who, per MLB Pipeline, is the number 2 overall prospect in baseball, James Wood. He on Tuesday evening, as the Nats starting left fielder and number 5 batter, got on base 4 times. He went 2 for 3 with a 2-run homer, a triple, 2 walks, and 2 stolen bases. Did commit a fielding error, but Wood in that Nats 5-run second, a leadoff opposite field triple off the left field wall. Wood in the Nats 2-run third, drew a walk, and he had to steal a second base. Wood in the Nats 1-run sixth, drew a 1-out walk, and he had to steal of second base. And he saved his best for last. Wood in the Nats 2-run eighth, an opposite field 2-run homer to left center field for an 11-5 Nats lead. The homer going a projected 423 feet per StatCast. The error by Wood, that came in a Giants 1-run fourth. He committed what actually was a pretty bad fielding error. This came out a single by Elliot Ramos, allowed Tyler Fitzgerald to score all the way from first base to cut the Nats lead to 7-5. But James Wood, since being summoned to the majors on July 1st, yes, there has been, or maybe I should say had been, a lack of power, but his OPS is 790 now. Batting average at 270, on base percentage 364, slugging percentage 426 and climbing. It feels like we are watching someone coming into his own and someone who is starting to figure it out as a batter at the major league level.
Yeah, and look, we said all along, he's hitting the ball hard. Give it some time. Eventually, those ground balls are going to turn into line drives. The line drives turn into balls hit to the fence and even over the fence, and that's exactly what happened in this one with a triple that was almost a home run, went off the wall in left field. And then that home run, there aren't many right-handed batters who have found the picnic tables in left center field here, let alone a left-handed batter. I'd have to go back and try to think of any, or see if I can find any highlights of anyone else. That is a titanic blast for a left-handed hitter. What strikes me is everything he's hitting is to the opposite field. Now, that's not a bad thing because he can hit it there with some real authority, kind of Juan Soto-esque, to be honest, as a left-handed hitter who can drive the ball to left and left center field like that. My guess is that the next step is going to be he starts to pull him when he gets something on the inner third of the plate. He doesn't get a lot. Pitchers are staying away from him, down and away, low and away. And he's doing a good job of just taking it the other way and actually still hitting it for power. So that's all a great sign. And I feel like when we look back on this, we're going to see each stage that he went through to get to where he is. He starts out hitting the ball really hard, but on the ground. A couple weeks later, he's, getting a little jumpy, not swinging at good pitches, not drawing his walks. Then he starts to be more patient again, draws his walks, starts hitting line drives. Now we're seeing really well-struck balls hit in the air to the opposite field. The last step to it all is to start doing that to the pull side. I have no reason to think that's not going to happen, and it's been great to see that progression here just in the span of a month. Like, let's remember, he's still only been up here for a month, and we're already seeing that kind of progression that tells me that the sky's the limit with him. It's going to continue to get better as he gets more experience.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, he got brought up on July 1st. Tuesday was August 6th. Like, it's been a month and change. That's it. And already we're seeing this guy mature big time. Hey guys, Al Galdi here for Window Nation. The 2024 MLB trade deadline may have passed, but that doesn't mean that there isn't still a great deal to be had. Window Nation, for listeners of the Nats Chat podcast, is offering a sensational deal. 2 free windows for every 2 windows that you buy, plus pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years, plus you get an additional $250 credit. Call 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast. Window Nation windows are outstanding. Window Nation is the true window expert. Window Nation's professional installation teams have over 10 years of experience. Every Window Nation window undergoes a 50-point inspection before leaving the Window Nation factory. 866-90Nation or windownation.com. Take advantage of this offer for listeners of the Nats Chat podcast. 2 free windows for every 2 windows that you buy, plus pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years, plus an additional $250 credit. 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com. That's 866-90Nation or windownation.com, and tell Window Nation that Al Galdi sent you.
This episode is brought to you by our good friends at NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. I'm sure by now you've all gotten back into your Sunday routines, but they could be even better. With NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get the most live NFL games all in one place, every game, every Sunday, and you can even watch up to 4 different games at once with Multiview, one of my favorite inventions of this decade. It's exactly what you need to catch all the action. Make your Sundays more magical. And also, YouTube TV is great. I got it this year. It's awesome. Sign up now at youtube.com/BS. Device and content restrictions apply. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games.
Birdsong holding, kicking and delivering. A swing and a high fly ball to right field. This is deep. Encarnacion going back, way back. Warning track wall. It is gone! Goodbye! Bang! Zoom goes C.J. Abrams with a towering high fly ball home run over the big wall in right field. A 3-run homer, his 17th home run of the year. And the Nationals have played it 5 here in the bottom of the second inning to take the lead.
So James Wood productive in this game, C.J. Abrams productive in this game. And when it came to the highlight of the night, that was courtesy of C.J. Abrams. So he was the Nats starting shortstop and number 1 batter, 2 for 5 with a 3-run homer and an infield single. And how about the home run? Abrams in the Nats 5-run second to 1-out, 3-run home run to right field on a 1-2 pitch for a 5-4 Nats lead. Now, in this day and age of StatCast, there are many things that can be and are measured. One of the things that can be and is measured is the height of a pitch. This is not something that gets talked about enough, but StatCast does track the heights of pitches. The pitch on which C.J. Abrams hit this home run, the highest pitch hit by a Nats player for a home run in a regular season game in the StatCast era, which started with the 2015 season. The pitch height, 4.42 feet. And if you watch the homer, at the very least, look up the highlight of the homer if you didn't see this game, if you didn't see the homer. This was something else. C.J. Abrams making contact with the pitch, let alone hitting it for a home run. What a job by him to homer on that pitch. And then he had an infield single in the bottom of the 8th, a 2-out full count infield single to the left side of the infield. So, there's the storyline of C.J. Abrams has been struggling big time. Good to see him homer like that. But man, you talk about degree of difficulty, him to homer on that high of a pitch. A spectacular job by Abrams.
I still don't believe that measurement. When I look at it, I see a ball that's at least at his chin, and he's 6 feet tall. How is that 4.4 feet? Unless that's measured from the strike zone. I don't even know how that works exactly. That's one of the highest pitches I've ever seen hit for a home run. I think the previous Nats record was actually by Kyle Schwarber. during his torrid month of June 2021. And remember, he would just hit anything at that point. CJ said he didn't quite realize, he knew it was a high pitch, but it wasn't until afterwards he went back and watched it and saw where it was. And his reaction was, I'm not really sure why I swung at that pitch. I'm glad I did, but I probably wouldn't swing at that again. It may not be the best strategy to keep going for that kind of thing, but it's funny. Davey Martinez keeps saying, and he said it before the game, he's got to get the ball up. Don't chase down in the zone. Everybody's feeding him breaking balls down in the zone. Get the pitch up. Well, he got it up. He got it way up and did some major damage with it. He needed that one. We've talked about the struggles that he's had over the last month, and just a reminder that, hey, this kid can hit the ball really well when he puts a good swing on it and swings at the right pitch. And in this case, despite its height, it actually was the right pitch to swing at, I guess.
So we had James Wood being productive, we had C.J. Abrams being productive, and another key player in the Nats rebuild, Keibert Ruiz. He on Tuesday evening was productive. Keibert is the Nats starting catcher and number 4 batter, 3 for 5 with a solo homer, a double, and a single. Keibert in the Nats 2-run third, a leadoff homer to right field for a 6-4 Nats lead. That homer going a projected 401 feet per Statcast. Keibert in the Nats 1-run fourth, a first pitch single to right field. And Keibert in the Nats 2-run eighth, a leadoff ground rule double off the right field warning track despite having been down in the count at 1.12. We have had many Keibert Ruiz conversations this season, what has been a bad season for him. We've talked about that a ton. But he has been better lately, as we have noted. And Keibert Ruiz now for this month of August so far, OPS of 1,079. We've talked about how important these final 2 months of the regular season are for him. Maybe, just maybe, he's going to make a season out of this and do well over these final 2 months. He's certainly off to a good start.
So remember the 13-pitch walk from Monday night that he was swinging at everything and fouling everything off, and then finally laid off one, drew the walk, and ultimately I think knocked Logan Webb out of that game. It was one more batter, but it kind of spelled the end for him. David Martinez said that's the kind of at bat that can hopefully get a guy going because it brings back some confidence in himself. Well, guess what he is, Keibert Ruiz, since that 13-pitch walk? He's 4 for 6 with 2 doubles and a homer. Okay? Too early to declare that the turning point, but certainly an upward trend since then, and not just getting his Keibert Ruiz exit hits, but these are being hit well. That home run, again, he can do this. We've seen him do this. He can turn on a pitch and drive it to right field like anybody can. It's just a matter of swinging at the right pitches and getting the right elevation and angle on it. He sometimes just kind of flicks the wrists and he's not really giving his best, A swing, as Daniel Murphy used to call it. He needs to do that more. He can do that. And maybe these last 24 hours are showing himself that he can do that and just needed a little boost of confidence. Well, we'll see. It'll be a week or two till we can say definitively if he's actually on a real hot streak here. But it's possible that is actually what got him going, that really long, drawn-out walk on Monday night.
Would be great to see that. And obviously, he's not exactly known for drawn-out plate appearances, for generating walks. Him doing that, maybe that does ignite something here. I don't think we can emphasize this enough. Like, what he does these final 2 months is really important, because if he continues to struggle, then you have real questions about him as the number 1 catcher moving forward. If he does well, you say, all right, maybe, just maybe, this guy is in fact the guy at catcher. But I love seeing this in this game. Wood, Abrams, Ruiz all coming through. And I also want to salute Alex Call. I know he's not like a building block for the future, but he has been productive since the Nats brought him back up from AAA Rochester. Call in this game as the Nats starting right fielder and number 7 batter, 2 for 4 with 2 one-out RBI doubles and a walk. Call in the Nats 5-run second, a 1-out walk despite having been down to the count at 1.12. Call in the Nats 2-run third, a 1-out full count RBI double to the left center field gap for a 7-4 Nats lead. And Call in the Nats 1-run 6, a 1-out opposite field RBI double to the right center field gap for a 9-5 Nats lead despite having been down in the count at 1.02. July 28th was when the Nats announced having recalled Call from AAA Rochester. He's since being brought back up to the majors, is 10 for 22 with a homer, 4 doubles, 5 singles, and 6 walks. If I had told you in late July the Nats will be summoning an outfielder from AAA Rochester whose last name begins with the letter C, and that guy over his first handful of games at the major league level, 10 of 22, homer, 4 doubles, 5 singles, 6 walks. You would have said Dylan Cruz, right? Well, this is Alex Call, not quite Dylan Cruz, but he's producing in the way that we hope Dylan Cruz will be producing.
I would have thought, boy, this guy's going to make a run at Rookie of the Year, isn't he? No, well, wait, no, he's not a rookie. Alex Call's been here before. All credit to him, of course. We know the situation, how he stacks up in the long run and where he figures into this. But you get your opportunity and you run with it, and he is absolutely running with it, even more than he's done in the past. He's always had these like hot streaks that make you say, okay, maybe there's something there, and then inevitably cools off. This one's probably better than any of the other ones because he's both drawing the walks, which has always been his strong suit, the ability to work along at bat, but he's also hitting the ball well and driving it, which is not necessarily something we think of him. So I can't help thinking here between Alex Call, Juan Yepes, Harold Ramirez early on when he was playing a little bit more, these like AAA, we got to call somebody up to just fill in, whether it's because of an injury or a trade, whatever the case may be, or struggles like in Joey Meneses' case. These guys have actually proven to be really invaluable to them. And they may not carry your lineup, but they're providing lineup depth and giving the team a chance to do things like they did on Tuesday night, because you need more than 3 guys. You need quality at bats up and down the lineup. So props to these guys who, again, don't necessarily figure into the long-term plan, but they're helping make at least this part of the summer a lot more tolerable and making the most of the opportunity that they're getting.
Yeah, and we have had this over the life of this rebuild, the Nats calling someone up, and that's someone being surprisingly productive. Joey Meneses in 2022. Remember our guy Alcides Escobar, how stunningly productive he was initially for the Nats. So like that does happen. They're getting it now. What usually happens is these guys get exposed right as time goes on, but whatever, like in the now, these guys are delivering and they deserve credit for that. So really good to see. So yeah, I mean, again, this team, the next game, the team could score 1 run, right? But on this night, in this game, 11 runs, 15 hits, 6 of the 9 players in the Nats lineup each had at least 2 hits. Like this was a potent offensive performance. And as much as the Nats got to Birdsong, it was also to the 3 Giants relievers in this game. Like this was a sustained offensive output for the Nats. Like you said earlier, it wasn't just a 5-run second and then that was it. Throughout the rest of the game, basically, you had the Nats doing things offensively. Every inning, even if the Nats didn't score in the inning, it felt like they were threatening to score in that inning.
So are we prepared to give Darnell Coles any credit for helping make this happen? After our conversation the night before, it's why you have to be so careful with this stuff and look at the bigger picture. And it boils down to the players, ultimately. You can coach them up as much as you want. And yes, there are some coaches who are better than others, of course. And that's not to say that this one game, erases any of those questions about the hitting coach and how they proceed from here. But as we've said, they have the ability to do this on a given night. The problem is, come Wednesday, you said they might only score 1 run. They might be shut out. They're facing Blake Snell, coming off a no-hitter, and it was really good the time before that. This guy is locked in right now. It would not shock me at all if he completely mowed through this lineup on Wednesday. You hope that's not the case, but I don't think that anything that happened Tuesday carries over to Wednesday. I don't think there's any reason to talk about momentum here. It's a brand new day, a brand new pitcher, and as we've said, their biggest issue, I think, offensively is they either see a guy well and hit him, or they don't see him well, and they struggle the majority of the game against him. So that's the challenge they're going to face Wednesday against Blake Snell.
Yeah, we got a lot of feedback to our Darnell Coles conversation, and that probably will not be the last Darnell Coles conversation that we have.
As I told him when he came out of the game, forget about the first inning. What you did after that was pretty good. It really was. I mean, he could have just fell apart, but he hung in there, started getting the ball where he wanted to, and he gave us the innings we needed. I mean, 5 of 96, I think it was.
So there was a negative for the Nats in this 11-5 win over the Giants on Tuesday evening, and that negative was starting pitcher MacKenzie Gore, although he ended up doing enough as his outing went on to make the negative not as glaring as it otherwise might have been. But bottom line, MacKenzie Gore was not good for a 7th time in 8 starts. We've gone from him being in like a slump to him being in a rut to now really his season unraveling. Like, I don't think that's overly dramatic to say that. Gore in this game, 5 runs, 4 earned in 5 innings. He gave up 8 hits, which were 2 home runs, 2 doubles, and 4 singles. He issued 2 walks and a hit by pitch. He did record 6 strikeouts. He actually did throw a good number of strikes, 66 strikes versus just 32 balls, but he threw 98 pitches over his 5 innings. He also committed a fielding error in the top of the second, but it was the top of the first that stuck with you. Gore allowing 4 runs in the top of the first. The 4 runs coming on 2 homers, 2 singles, a walk, and a hit by pitch. That inning, so laborious, so brutal. Now, to his credit, he did allow 1 run over his final 4 innings. Davey Martinez, during his postgame press conference, did credit Gore for that, and he does deserve credit for that. But, of course, you can't just look past him allowing 4 runs in the top of the first, and you take a step back. MacKenzie Gore now has seen his ERA for this regular season go from 3.26 to 4.66 over his last 8 starts. This is becoming a conversation that we keep having. He knows what the problem is. He keeps having the problem, and the results keep being bad.
Yeah, and he said he's tired of having to try to find these silver linings to start. So he knows that just can't continue forever. Well, he's got to go out and actually do it now is the problem. And that first inning, they hit him hard. Not just the home runs, but everything. And I think that's maybe what stands out to me most of all is that for a guy who supposedly has superior stuff, it's not really getting beat because of lack of command in terms of, walking batters or falling behind everybody. Like they're hitting him pretty hard when he puts it in the zone. And it's troubling. It's absolutely troubling. The long first innings are becoming a trend with him. The home runs, he was really good. The whole team was really good the first 2 months of the year. We talked about how that was maybe the biggest difference from last year. They weren't giving up home runs the way they used to. Well, they're right back to where they used to be, and he's high on that list as well in giving up a lot of home runs. Dug them into a big hole yet again. Now, there are positives, and the fact that he was able to get through it, I mean, there wasn't a clean inning the whole time, but he did limit the damage. He did get outs when he needed them, made some better pitches. The 6 strikeouts after only striking out 1 last time. Okay, that's good. So there are some silver linings to this, but we're still waiting for that just good quality start out of him. He desperately wants it. He's tired of having to kind of go through the same thing every time and feel like it's an uphill climb every time he's on the mound. But it's up to him now to turn this around. And what I was thinking to myself watching this is, he's got Max Scherzer's attitude and desire to be the best, but right now he's pitching like Gio Gonzalez. And so you hope that he trends back in the Max Scherzer direction, but he's got to get over the Gio stuff first before he can think about being an ace like Max Scherzer.
We have seen the Nats with young pitchers, including in this season, do things to give them a break, do things to give them a reset. I'm not saying necessarily you option Gore to the minors, but what about delaying his next start or skipping his next start? Put aside like they don't have great starting pitching depth. We could figure that out. But do you think something like that would help Gore instead of just this, rinse, wash, repeat cycle continuing? I mean, again, 7 of his last 8 starts have been bad. This is a real issue right now. He's not doing well. He's not in a good place.
Yeah, the schedule coming up here is not real kind. I think he would next go on Sunday, and there's no off days between now and then, so somebody else would have to make that start. If it worked out that they could skip a start because of an off day, maybe you do that. Give him a little mental break, work on some stuff in the bullpen, whatever that might be. I could see that happening at some point. I don't know that it'll happen before his next one. He may just have to kind of fight through this and try to beat the Angels on Sunday. It's tough. There's certainly been other pitchers in this situation that you would even send to the minors and let them work things out and come back, give them a little break, whatever it is. I don't think physically there's anything wrong. There's no indication of that. I would say not yet, but if it keeps trending in this direction, they may have to do something along those lines and say, hey, we're gonna skip one of your starts, give you a chance to kind of collect your thoughts and try to go back out there and do something different next time.
Yeah, it's tough because, every year it feels like there is a Nat starting pitcher who is doing well and then he falls apart. 2 years ago was Eric Fetty. Last season was Trevor Williams. And this year is MacKenzie Gore. And in a lot of ways, Gore was like the last guy who you wanted to be that guy for this season. And yet it's happening. Now, there's still time for him to get this thing righted. My hope is that this can be like Josiah Gray last season. Josiah Gray's last season went on, actually looked lost, but then he got things back on track, ended his season in strong fashion. Hopefully Gore can do that. But again, not in a good place right now. Well, a pitching positive for the Nats in this game on Tuesday evening was the bullpen. Bullpen over the weekend, not good, but the bullpen in Game 1 of this series was good, and the bullpen in Game 2 of this series was good. 3 Nats relievers combined for 4 scoreless innings with 4 swinging strikeouts. Derek Law tossed 2 perfect innings. Robert Garcia, perfect top of the 8th. He needed that. And Tanner Rainey, a scoreless top of the 9th with 2 swinging strikeouts despite giving up a leadoff double. I know these were not the highest leverage innings, but this bullpen needed to sort of stop the bleeding off what had been happening, and a second consecutive good game for the bullpen.
Yeah, and look, it was, I think, 9-5 for much of that time, and you're thinking, with this bullpen, that's no guarantee of anything. So I give them a lot of credit for just really lockdown stuff, especially from Law and Garcia. Then they tack on the runs, and that allowed Davey Martinez to not have to pitch Kyle Finnegan. I think a 4-run lead, he probably has Finnegan pitch the 9th. Instead, you can go to Tanner Rainey for only the 6th time this year in 31 appearances that he's pitched with the Nationals ahead. I mean, 6 out of 31, and they've all been, lopsided. They have not been close games. This is probably the closest game he's been in a while. He doesn't have a decision this year. He's been on the team the entire year. He's 0-0, his record. What does that tell you? He's not pitching in situations where the game can be decided one way or the other. Eventually here, it's going to have to happen. They acknowledge it. There was some good stuff from him. He gave up a leadoff double, but a couple of strikeouts. I saw his fastball get up to like 96 or even 97, which is great to see. And the last pitch of the game was a really good slider to Chapman to strike him out. So maybe a glimmer of some hope there. Again, given what the state of the pen is right now, they have to throw him in some kind of situation of consequence here soon. Maybe this was a stepping stone to that finally.
So Game 3 for the Nats against the Giants at Nationals Park, Wednesday evening at 6:45. Jake Irvin will be the Nats starting pitcher, so the potential for a pitcher's duel with Jake Irvin opposing Blake Snell. And then we shortly after the conclusion of this game on Tuesday evening had news regarding Game 4 of this series. So Game 4 was supposed to be Thursday afternoon at 4:05. Game 4 now will be Thursday afternoon at 12:05. The Nats making the announcement that due to forecasted inclement weather, the start of Thursday's game moved up to 12:05 p.m. The start for Wednesday's game remaining at 6:45 p.m. I commend the Nats for doing this. I don't think that MLB teams do this often enough, being proactive with incoming rain, moving start times up. Saying we don't want to deal with a rain delay, so let's move this thing up a few hours, in this case 4 hours. I think that's smart. I'm guessing some of this, maybe a lot of this, does have to do with facing a West Coast team in the Giants. That's a getaway day for them. But whatever the case, bravo to the Nats. We hammer them when things go wrong with rain. I think this is a case of saying, hey, this is smart. This is forward thinking. Good job.
Yeah, now the key is, will it work? I mean, the forecast is not good for the next few days. It's a lot of rain Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Absolutely give them credit for being proactive and trying to get ahead of this thing. It may end up being that it rains early to Thursday, and now we're sitting around all day still waiting to play that game. I don't know. It is one of the problems with the schedule as it is now, when you have everybody who's not in division is only making 1 trip a year wherever it is, and even the division teams only make 2 trips a year. And so there's not a lot of leeway there to have makeups or rescheduled things. So fingers crossed that this all works and they get the games in as planned, but it could be a long few days here, not just for the rest of this series, but the start of the Angels series on Friday. And there's not much they can do except watch the radar and play whenever it looks like it's clear to play.
And regarding that Angels series, the Los Angeles Angels on Tuesday afternoon reinstating an infielder by the name of Anthony Rendon from the injured list. Yes, I know it's shocking. Anthony Rendon was on an injured list, but he has been reinstated from that injured list. And so we will be seeing Anthony Rendon, presumably anyway, assuming he doesn't get hurt again, at Nationals Park this weekend.
Yeah, I got that joke from a lot of people when I tweeted it. So I know there are a lot of skeptics and cynics out there who won't believe it until they actually see him stay healthy for the next 3 days. But this is kind of wild. And it's not because of him. The Angels have not been here in like a decade, I think, or 8 years, something like that, since their last trip to Washington, D.C. And so Rendon, legitimately the last of the World Series players to come back here with another team. You know, some retired, never had the chance to, but I'm pretty sure everybody else from that team who went on to play beyond that season has got a chance to come back. And here we are 5 years later, and Anthony Rendon will finally come back. And I know Angels fans don't love him. I know a lot of people around baseball don't love him. I think he's going to get a very warm welcome from the Nationals Park crowd, who still remembers very fondly how important he was to their World Series win, how clutch he was, arguably the MVP of the entire postseason. If you wanted to give out an award like that, he was so good for them. And I hope, in spite of all his injury issues and other issues that he's had, that he can appreciate what this, will be coming back here, and that he's given the ovation that he really deserves.
From a Nationals perspective, basically nothing bad to say about Anthony Rendon. He was a great player for the Nats. From an Angels perspective, his time with that team has been a disaster. I mean, there's no other way to say it. And he himself has not been particularly happy there. I think he's made that pretty clear. He now has been with the Angels. This is his 5th season with them. He was only with the Nats for 7 seasons. His time with the Angels is almost equal to his time with the Nationals, but the productivity nowhere near the same. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can email the podcast, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. Check out our website too, natschatpodcast.com, in which you can purchase a Nats Chat podcast t-shirt. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat, courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat podcast.
Here's the wind and the pitch. Swing and a belt to left center field. This one way back. Warning track, wall, and gone. Goodbye. Right over the 377 marker and over the head of the left fielder, Luis Ruiz, who was stationed at the wall, hoping it would come down on his side. Well, the 0 for 2 games is over. Bang! Zoom goes Rendon. He ties Juan Soto for the club lead in home runs with 33. 115 runs batted in for Tony Two Bags, and the Nationals lead by the score of 1-0.